Every day he would cook one of the most expensive instant noodles in Korea, but he never took a single bite. He only cooked it to take pictures and post them on social media. And the reason he wasted food like this was to hide the fact that he was a murderer. For 8 years straight he had killed a stranger every year, yet the police still had no idea he even existed because of that bowl of noodles. Not even the victim's parents knew, because the phone he used to post those pictures belonged to the victims. And every time he would set the location to a foreign country, successfully making it look like they were still alive. And he had a very unusual routine whenever he targeted someone. He had to get their phone first, so he usually looked for targets on late-night buses. People who were drunk or half asleep were bound to leave their phones behind sometimes. Although this method was a little slow, it was also the safest and least likely to get him caught, because only after getting the phone and learning everything about its owner would he make his move. And this time the owner of the phone he found was a sweet-looking young woman. He tried several passwords but couldn't guess the right one, so he grabbed the phone and smashed it against the edge of the table. Meanwhile, the woman who had lost her phone was still fast asleep from drinking, until her best friend came to check on her after being unable to reach her. And that's when she found out her phone was missing, so she quickly used her friend's phone to call her own number, and a woman's voice soon came from the other end, but it was actually a voice changer the man was using. He claimed that he had found the phone on the bus, but accidentally damaged the screen when he dropped it. He said he would pay to have the phone repaired. Then he gave the woman the address of a repair shop, and told her to pick it up herself. When the unsuspecting woman arrived, she found an extremely run-down old building, but luckily when she walked into the repair shop, she immediately spotted her phone. The repairman handed her an information form, and asked her to fill it out according to the instructions. The most important thing on it was the phone's password. The woman had no idea that this repairman was actually the person who found her phone. All she wanted was to get her phone fixed as quickly as possible, and soon she had filled in all the information. With all that information, the man began carrying out his disturbing plan. First he opened up the phone and replaced the camera. Then he installed a new screen and unlocked the phone with the password. He then quickly installed malicious software on it, and synced everything on the woman's phone to his own. Completely unaware of what had happened, the woman thanked him profusely before leaving, without realizing that everything she did, whether she was texting or making calls, or even whatever her camera was pointed at, was already being transmitted straight to the man's phone. After monitoring her for several days, he had learned almost everything about her. He learned that her name was Nami. She had a regular job during the day, and helped out at her father's bubble tea shop at night. She only had two close friends. One was her boss, and the other was her best friend. Even more disturbing was that he remotely controlled Nami's phone while she slept at night. He went through every app on the phone. Nami was now like an open book in front of him. She had absolutely no secrets left, and after learning all of this, the man began his next move. He was going to enter Nami's real life, and slowly torture her to death. That night the man carefully dressed himself to match Nami's ideal type, then showed up at her father's bubble tea shop, and ordered a grapefruit juice right away, then deliberately sat down and played games on his phone. With his handsome looks, friendly smile, and all the same hobbies and interests, there was no way Nami wouldn't notice him. The two quickly hit it off, but afterward her father warned her that everything about the man seemed far too coincidental, as if he had planned it all on purpose. But Nami was already completely smitten and wouldn't listen. She even ended up arguing with her father over it, and the entire argument was seen clearly by the man through Nami's phone, so he decided to get rid of her meddling father first. Coincidentally, Nami's best friend was staying over that night. The two girls kept chatting, and neither of them used their phones, so the man secretly took control of Nami's phone. First he sent her father an apology text, then attached a link and asked him to open it. Her father didn't think much of it. After all, he was pleased that his daughter was apologizing, but he had no idea that the link contained the man's malware, which would install itself as soon as it was opened. The man then monitored her father's phone, and learned that a package he had ordered had arrived, so he disguised himself as a delivery driver, and dropped the package off at the door ahead of time. When her father came outside to get it, the man suddenly appeared behind him, and knocked him unconscious with a brick. After her father was kidnapped, rain began to fall from the sky, and it was because of this heavy rain that the bodies the man had buried in the mountains were washed out. The police began digging through the area that night, and unbelievably they found 8 badly decomposed bodies in the same location. All of their fingerprints had been destroyed, and their faces had been splashed with sulfuric acid, making it impossible to identify them right away. Just as Detective Chief John was struggling with the case, one of his men made a new discovery. He found a bottle of tree fertilizer at the burial site, but who would come all the way out here to fertilize a tree? Puzzled, John began searching the surrounding area, and sure enough he found a grapefruit tree being fed with fertilizer. More importantly, there was a sign hanging from the tree, with the name Yu Junyoung written on it. John was completely stunned when he saw it, because his own son was also named Yu Junyoung, but his son had run away from home 7 years ago, and according to what John knew about his son, he was just a useless good for nothing. He wouldn't even dare kill a chicken back then, so how could he possibly kill someone? But you can never be too sure. So he decided to try contacting his son, and asked if he was the one who planted that grapefruit tree. So late that night he secretly took his wife's phone, because he had a terrible relationship with his son, and they had no way of contacting each other. He wanted to see if his wife had his son's contact information, but he discovered that his wife had been talking to their son all along, and every few days their son would either ask for money or have his mother mail him kimchi. So John followed the mailing address and came looking for him. When he saw no one inside, he quietly slipped in, but the moment he entered he was completely stunned. because the nail polish on the table was exactly the same color as the one on the victim's hands, and the girl in a photo on the wall looked remarkably similar to one of the victims. John then opened the closet and found clothes belonging to many different people. There were also lots of identical items inside a suitcase. John quickly took out his phone and photographed everything. Meanwhile, the man returned home after dealing with Nami's father. He was about to unlock the door when he noticed the red string he had placed on the doorframe had fallen. He immediately realized someone had broken in, so he quietly made his way to the window, and sure enough he saw John searching through the house. By then John had already found the key piece of evidence. The notebook clearly recorded information about every victim, along with detailed plans for killing them. But just as John was absorbed in it, his phone suddenly vibrated. A text had come from an unknown number. "Dad, it's been a long time since we talked." Then the sender sent him another photo. It showed John exactly as he was while searching through the room. John realized his son was nearby, so he immediately rushed outside. But there wasn't a single person on the street. Then John received several more photos. Judging by the angle, they seemed to have been taken from the rooftop across the street. But when John came running over, he realized it was only a phone being controlled remotely. Realizing he had fallen for the trick, he rushed back to the house. But the place was already a complete mess. All the important evidence had been taken away. Even the footprints on the floor had been completely washed away. After all this, the man knew he had to speed things up. He had to kill Nami before the police figured out who he was. Completely unaware of what was happening, Nami was fast asleep at home with her best friend. When she woke up and saw her friend's hilarious sleeping position, she was about to take a picture to remember it. But the moment she picked up her phone, she was stunned. Her boss had called her 78 times, and it was already past 11 in the morning. She had no time to figure out why her alarm hadn't gone off. She quickly got dressed and jumped into a taxi, then picked up her phone to explain everything to her boss. But instead she discovered something even more terrifying. All of her social media accounts had blown up. The company group chat was filled with angry messages, and every single one was directed at her, because after she fell asleep the night before, she had apparently exposed the company's dirty secrets online. She completely trashed her boss online, and called all her co-workers a bunch of losers. When Nami rushed to the office in a panic, her co-workers had already been waiting for her.
나도 그게 진짜 궁금해요. 왜 그랬을까? 이해가 안 돼.
저 못 믿으시는 거예요?
믿으면 뭐가 달라지는 건데?
사장님.
망한 회사가 다시 살아나기라.
아니? 제가 범인 잡을게요. 범인 잡아서 이거 다 돌려놓을게요.
After hearing that Nami had fallen out with her boss, the man crossed her boss's name off his list. Now the only person left around Nami was her best friend. The two of them had already made their way to the police station. But when it comes to something like a hacking incident, you have to provide evidence that someone actually attacked you. Otherwise the police have no grounds to open a case. With no other choice, Nami turned to the man she had met at the bubble tea shop, because he had told her he worked in cybersecurity. Nami still had no idea that her father had already been kidnapped by him. When they met, the man first asked how quickly her phone battery was draining. When he learned it was draining twice as fast as usual, he immediately pointed out the problem. He told Nami that spyware had been installed on her phone, and that it could monitor everything she did on her phone. But Nami hadn't installed anything recently, so where had it come from? The man said he would analyze it again after getting back to the office, and tell Nami what he found. Nami could tell he was holding something back, so after he left she followed him, and this time the man finally stopped hiding the truth.
혹시 누구랑 사세요?
아니요. 왜 그러시는데요?
제가 솔직하게 말씀드릴게요. 그 설치되어 있는 스파이웨어 있잖아요. 나미 씨 말대로 다운받은 흔적이 없어요. 이게 무슨 말이냐면 누군가가 나미 씨 폰에 몰래 직접 설치를 했다는 말이죠.
After hearing this, Nami immediately became suspicious of her best friend, because she hadn't invited her over the night before. Her friend had shown up on her own and decided to spend the night, and by coincidence her friend got curious when Nami was gone for so long, so she decided to peek through the window, which only made Nami even more convinced that something was wrong. Without saying another word, she confronted her best friend. Her friend was furious when she heard that. The moment Nami got into trouble, she had been running around trying to help her, and now Nami was turning around and blaming her, so her friend stopped putting up with it, and immediately cut ties with her. Watching her friend walk out of the cafe in tears, the man knew his plan to drive them apart had worked. Now getting Nami fired would be easy, but before he could make his move, something unexpected happened to Nami, because in just 3 short days, she lost her job, lost her best friend, and even had a falling out with her father. She completely broke down, and blamed the phone for everything. Then in a fit of rage she smashed it onto the floor. As she stared at the shattered screen, she suddenly remembered that the repairman had handled her phone too, so she quickly brought 2 police officers with her to the phone repair shop, only to run into John. He had followed the clues and tracked the place down. After comparing what they knew, Nami finally realized that the repairman and the person who found her phone, as well as the man who helped her check for the virus, were all the same person, but she only thought of him as a creep who liked spying on other people's lives. She never suspected that he was a serial killer. John still couldn't say for certain that his son was the killer, so he didn't tell Nami about it. After discussing it, they decided to lure the killer into a trap. Nami would pretend she knew nothing and lure the man to her home. Then John would move in and arrest him. Nami's phone was turned off, so the man had no idea what they were planning. He soon arrived downstairs at Nami's apartment after she invited him over, but John couldn't wait any longer. her. Before the man even entered Nami's apartment, he was already preparing to arrest him with his colleagues. The man was just about to call Nami when he happened to spot John through the phone. Realizing he was in danger, he tried to slip away. Luckily, one of John's colleagues blocked his path. But what happened next shocked everyone. When the man turned around, John froze in place because the man standing in front of him wasn't his son at all. So they assumed they had arrested the wrong person. They let the man leave and even bowed deeply to him. Then they planned to return to the car and wait. But Nami called out to them from upstairs. She had just received a message from the man. He said something had come up and he wouldn't be coming over after all. None of the three realized that they had already been exposed. Meanwhile, the police discovered that the serial murder case was connected to Yoonju and Rome. As a family member, John had to step aside and could no longer take part in the investigation. So for Nami's safety, John suggested that she stay somewhere else that night. Before leaving, Nami even switched back to her old phone. Then John drove her to her father's house. When she opened the door, her father seemed to be asleep, so she went back to her bedroom. But the moment she lay down, the man sent her a message saying he already knew she had switched phones. He then sent her a phone number and told her to call it immediately. Nami had only replied with a question when she suddenly heard a phone vibrating nearby. In disbelief, she dialed the number, and the vibration suddenly came from the ceiling. Terrified, Nami rushed out of the room and into her father's bedroom. When she pulled back the blanket, the person underneath was just a pillow. Nami locked the door and pulled out her phone to call the police. But the number she had just entered was deleted in an instant, and the phone suddenly started taking pictures on its own. It turned out the man had already sneaked into Nami's apartment while she was at work. He originally just wanted to observe her up close, but he found an old phone in her drawer, so he secretly tapped into that one too. He never expected it to come in handy now. Then the man started playing a recording of Nami arguing with her father. Back then, Nami had insisted on seeing the man and completely ignored her father. Now she was filled with regret and only wanted to find her father, so she followed the sound all the way into the living room. But the man had already been waiting there, and the first thing he did was make Nami watch a video. It was a video showing her father being held hostage. With no other choice, Nami could only obey him. She first called John to let him know she was safe. Then she willingly handed her phone over to the man. Nami knew no one was going to come for her. Her only chance of staying alive might be the small knife in her hand. But just as she was about to make her move, the man suddenly said he needed to use the bathroom. Then he walked into the bathroom. Seeing this, Nami quickly found a weapon she could use, planning to ambush him when he came back out. But surprisingly, he did not even close the bathroom door. Nami gathered her courage and took a peek inside, only to discover her father. He was tied up inside the bathtub, and he appeared to have been unconscious for quite some time. With no other choice, Nami had to surrender. The man tossed her a roll of tape and told Nami to tie up her own legs. Then he ordered Nami to turn around, kneel down, and put her hands behind her back. Nami hesitated for only 2 seconds. The man immediately turned on the faucet and poured cold water over her father's head, afraid that her father would drown. Nami had no choice but to do as he said. Then her hands were tied up as well. Even worse, the man also discovered the small knife, and as punishment for hiding a weapon, the man turned on the faucet without hesitation. As her father was about to be completely submerged, Nami desperately begged him to stop, saying she would do anything as long as he let her father go. The man suddenly became interested. After all, he was not completely unreasonable. Since that was the case, he decided to be a little gentler.
그럼 네가 죽여?
Nami was thrown into the bathtub as well. The water level immediately began to rise. Her father's face was submerged, but Nami could not do anything while she was restrained. The man took a picture of Nami's desperate face and set it as his phone wallpaper. Then he walked into the living room, but just then he noticed the business card Nami had dropped on the floor. John had given it to her before she entered the house, and there was a message written on it: "Do not send texts, only make phone calls." That meant the text Nami had just sent to John had completely exposed her. The man turned around cautiously, and sure enough, the police had already arrived, so he quietly hid in the shadows, waiting for them to enter so he could take them down from behind. Luckily, John arrived just in time. The demon who had killed 8 people was finally caught, and after John aggressively questioned him, he finally learned that his son had been killed by the man just 3 days after running away from home. After that, the man took Junron's personal information and committed crimes under his identity. Then John found his son's phone among the victim's belongings. When he saw that the wallpaper was a photo of his son at the time of his death, he could no longer hold back his anger and started beating the man. Then he pulled out his handgun and aimed it at him, but the last bit of reason left in him kept him from pulling the trigger. Meanwhile, Nami was rescued from the bathroom, but her father, who had nearly drowned, seemed beyond saving. Seeing the man still looking smug in the living room, Nami's eyes suddenly turned cold. She secretly took one of the police officer's guns, then slowly walked into the living room. In that moment, she got revenge for herself and for every victim. Just then, someone suddenly called her name from behind. She turned around, and it turned out her father had been rescued. In the end, the serial murder case caused a huge uproar across the country. Nami's family's bubble tea shop even became a popular spot for people to visit. Although John helped Nami, she escaped legal responsibility. It seemed inevitable that for a long time to come, she would remain the center of public attention and continue living under the watch of cameras. These days, smartphones have become an essential part of our lives. Even though they are only about the size of your palm, they contain almost every piece of information about us. Some people say ordinary people's personal information is already everywhere online and isn't worth much anymore. But every one of us has the right to protect our information online and safeguard our privacy. That's the end of today's story. I'm Matt. See you next time.